All right, parents, this week we are going to talk about 3D shapes. You should have seen the homework that had came out today. The first page of the homework gives you some idea of what we're doing. 3D shapes is like 2D shapes in that it has a lot of vocabulary that the children have to know. Some of the vocabulary crosses over from 2D shapes to 3D shapes, so it's something that they're already familiar with. All right, the first set of vocabulary words we're going to talk about is polyhedron and non-polyhedron. This is how you categorize 3D shapes. When you think about polyhedron, I want you to think about the word polygon. Polygon is a two-dimensional shape that has straight sides. So a polyhedron is made up of all polygons, so all sides have straight edges. All right, some examples of polyhedrons include a cube, a rectangular prism, a pyramid, and a triangular prism. All right, so if a polyhedron is made up of all straight sides or have straight edges, non-polyhedrons will have curved sides. Okay, this will include your cylinder and your cone and your sphere as well. Okay, now we're going to talk about nets. Nets are the 3D shapes that have been broken apart. So if you have ever made like a paper cube or something where you have to fold it and you make your 3D shape with that, that's actually what a net is. Okay. So for instance, this would be a net for a cube. You see you have a square here, a square here, a square here, and a square here, and then two on each side. Now these little parts are where you would glue it if you were folding it together. That does not count as part of the net. You're just looking at the square pieces. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares that make up a cube. Okay. This would be the net for the triangular prism, and you see you have 1, 2, 3 rectangles here in the middle. Now these rectangles could be any size depending on the shapes of your triangles, and then you'll have the 2 triangles on the side. Okay, and then this would be a net for a cylinder. So you have your circle on the top, circle on the bottom, and then one long rectangle in the middle. And the reason that rectangle is not broken into pieces is because it's curved. You don't have to crease the edges. It just curves around the circles. Okay. We do have nets in class that the kids get to work with and they get to hold and they get to see. But when they're doing it on their paper, they have to be able to break these nets apart. Okay, so a lot of times the square or the cube would have 6 squares broken apart like this. The triangular prism would look like this, and the cylinder would look like that. Okay, so it's just those same shapes that are in the nets up here, just separated out. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about the vertices, edges, and faces. This is something else that they need to know. I do have 3D shapes in the classroom that the kids get to hold, and they get to manipulate and count all the faces and the edges and the vertices. Okay. So a vertice or a vertex is all of the corners. Edges are the straight lines, and the faces are the sides. Okay, so it would be the top, the bottom, left, right, and all around. Okay, you do also have bases, and the base is just the flat part that the shape sits on. Okay, so like if you had a cone, the base would be the flat part of the cone. Okay, so to count these, we will start with the vertices first, and so I have the students put a circle on each of the vertices as they count. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 vertices for this cube. Okay, and then we're going to do the edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. Okay, and I do have the students draw the lines on each of the edges to make sure that they're counting each one. It's easy to forget an edge, and if you haven't marked them, then you might be off by 1 or 2. All right, and next is the faces. The faces is actually the hardest part for the students to count on the images on their paper. Okay, it's a lot easier if they have the shape in their hand and they're able to manipulate it, but on paper it's very hard for them to see. And for this cube you have 1 face, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I missed one. There were 6 faces. I missed the top one up here. Okay. So you see the vertices was 8, the edges were 12, and the faces were 6. All right. They will have to do that for their homework tonight, and they will have to be able to do that on their tests. They also have to break the shapes apart. And just remember, when you're doing that, when you're making the nets, you're taking all of their faces and just breaking them apart. So if it's a rectangular prism, you're going to have 6 faces. 4 of them will be rectangles, and the other 2 might be squares. All right, if it's a triangular prism, you'll have the 2 triangles on the side and then 3 rectangles, and so on and so forth. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. You can send me a message on Remind, and I will try to help you as much as I can. The hardest part for the students is counting all the faces, for sure. That's the hardest. Counting the edges and vertices are also difficult, but not as difficult as the faces. All right, thank you very much.